Imagine living in a city where children suddenly start disappearing. Bodies begin appearing in forests, mutilated in ways too horrifying to describe. For more than a decade, police had no idea who was responsible. The killer looked completely normal. A quiet man, a teacher, a husband. But behind that ordinary face was one of the most terrifying serial killers in history. His name was Andrei Chikatilo, later known as the Butcher of Rostov. Between 1978 and 1990, he murdered dozens of people across the Soviet Union, many of them children. How did he do it for so many years without being caught? And how did one small mistake finally expose him? Today, we are going to uncover the chilling true story of Andrei Chikatilo. Andrei Chikatilo was born on October 16, 1936, in a small village in Ukraine, which was then part of the Soviet Union. His childhood was filled with poverty, hunger, and trauma. Ukraine had just suffered through the devastating famine known as the Holodomor, and many families struggled simply to survive. Chikatilo grew up hearing terrifying stories. His mother reportedly told him that during the famine, people were so desperate that some even resorted to cannibalism. Whether these stories were true or not, they left deep psychological scars on him. He was a shy and awkward child. He suffered from bullying at school and had severe self-confidence issues. As he grew older, another problem appeared. He suffered from sexual dysfunction, which created deep frustration and humiliation in his personal life. Over time, psychologists believe these emotional struggles began turning into violent fantasies. Despite his difficulties, Chikatilo tried to live a normal life. He studied literature and eventually became a school teacher. He married a woman named Feodosia, and the couple had two children. To the outside world, he seemed like an ordinary Soviet citizen. But inside, something darker was growing. Witnesses later reported that he had disturbing behavior around young students and sometimes displayed strange, emotional outbursts. Eventually, he lost his teaching job due to complaints of inappropriate conduct. But the worst was still to come. In December 1978, a 9-year-old girl named Yelena Zakotnova disappeared near the city of Shakhty. Her body was later found near a river. The case shocked the region. Police arrested another man for the crime, and he was later executed. But the truth was horrifying. The real killer had escaped. That killer was Andrei Chikatilo. And this would only be the beginning. Over the next 12 years, Chikatilo continued his brutal crimes. Most of his murders took place in and around Rostov-on-Don. He targeted vulnerable victims, runaway children, young boys and girls, women traveling alone. Their ages ranged roughly from 7 years old to about 40. His method was disturbingly similar in many cases. He would approach victims at train stations or bus stops, pretending to be friendly. Sometimes he offered them food or money. Then he would lure them into forests or isolated areas. Once there, he attacked them using a knife. The violence was extreme and horrifying. Many victims suffered dozens of stab wounds. These brutal crimes shocked investigators and terrified entire communities. Parents were afraid to let their children go outside alone. But the killer remained invisible. Police struggled to catch him. During the 1980s, Soviet investigators faced major challenges. The Soviet government did not officially acknowledge the existence of serial killers. Authorities believed serial murder was a capitalist problem. Because of this mindset, police initially thought the murders were unrelated. multiple innocent suspects were arrested. In fact, several people were wrongfully punished while the real killer continued walking free. This allowed Chikatilo to keep killing. Eventually, investigators realized something disturbing. The murders followed a pattern. A special task force was created to hunt the killer. More than 200,000 people were questioned. Thousands of suspects were investigated. One of the key investigators was forensic expert Viktor Burakov. He believed the murders were connected and that they were dealing with a serial killer. This was a groundbreaking idea in the Soviet Union at that time. But even with this theory, the killer remained free. In 1984, police actually arrested Chikatilo briefly, but a critical forensic error occurred. His blood type didn't appear to match the evidence from the crime scenes. Because of this mistake, he was released. And after being released, he killed again. This mistake would haunt investigators for years. Everything changed in 1990. Police had begun secretly monitoring train stations near Rostov-on-Don. Investigators noticed a suspicious man wandering near forests and transportation hubs. That man was Andrei Chikatilo. One day, officers stopped him for questioning. They noticed scratches on his face and strange behavior. This time, they refused to let him go. After intense interrogation, Chikatilo finally confessed. His confession shocked the entire country. He admitted to dozens of murders. The trial of Andrei Chikatilo began in 1992. It took place in Rostov-on-Don under extremely tight security. The courtroom was filled with victims' families, journalists, and investigators. Chikatilo sometimes behaved strangely during the trial. He shouted, sang, and even removed his clothes in court. Psychiatrists examined him carefully. They concluded that although he had severe psychological problems, he was still legally responsible for his crimes. The court eventually convicted him of 52 murders. In 1992, the court sentenced Chikatilo to death. 2 years later, in 1994, the sentence was carried out. He was executed with a single gunshot to the back of the head, which was the standard execution method in Russia at that time. The man who had terrorized an entire region for over a decade was finally gone. The story of Andrei Chikatilo remains one of the darkest chapters in criminal history. More than 50 innocent lives were lost. His crimes exposed serious weaknesses in the Soviet criminal justice system, but they also led to major improvements in forensic science and criminal investigation. Today, his story serves as a reminder of how dangerous one hidden predator can be, and how important it is for investigators to recognize patterns before it's too late. If you found this true crime story interesting, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because on this channel, we explore the real stories behind history's most shocking crimes. And the next case might be even more disturbing.